everybody, and welcome to the Court of Oryx. Before I get started, I want to give a big thank you to Mesa Sean for letting me use some of his footage. What you're going to be watching is a collection of the stream footage and also Mesa's footage. If you guys want to check out an awesome Destiny channel, I will leave a link in the description to his channel. We're all about growing the community, showing the love to everyone, so make sure to show some love to Mesa Sean. Now, the Court of Oryx is Bungie's brand new take on public events that puts the players in control of when they encounter these monsters, these enemies, to do the public event with. It's held in the Dreadnought, where you can assemble your team of 3, just like any other explorable area like Earth, etc. You're only allowed to fire a team of 3, but the public bubble of the Court of Oryx can hold a total of 9 players. So you can have a total of 9 people, including yourself, standing here in the Court of Oryx, taking on all the bad guys. Now, in this video, I'm going to be explaining the different tiers of enemies because there's 3 tiers. The one you're going to be watching is tier 1 and 2. We do not know about tier 3 yet, but you're going to be watching tiers 1 and tier 2. I'm going to be showing you how exactly you can summon the different monsters and what you need in order to get that, where you can get it from, and I'm going to be talking to you about each of the individual boss mechanics, because every single boss in the Court of Oryx has a different mechanic that you have to figure out in order to take them down. So first, let's go over what exactly you need to summon one of these public events to happen. You're going to need a certain type of rune. Now, each tier requires a different rune. The first tier requires a reciprocal rune, the second tier requires a full stolen rune, which I'll explain in a while, and the third tier, we're not exactly sure. I think it's called the Agnarak rune, but we don't know how to fill it, we don't know how to do any of that stuff. They're keeping that a secret for when it comes out, so we have something to actually figure out for ourselves. So the first rune, which is the reciprocal rune, is something that can just drop randomly in the world. As soon as you get one of those, you can come to this statue. It's the first one on the left, closest to the court, and put it in the statue, and it triggers one of these public events to happen. The second one is a stolen rune. Now, the stolen rune, you actually have to fill with the blood and souls of your enemies. You have to kill 3 of the tier 1 enemies to get that stolen rune to get full. Once it's full, you will be able to summon a tier 2 enemy. Now, the tier 3, obviously I said we can't talk about that, but that's how you summon tier 1 and tier 2 public events, so you can kill them and take their loot. Now, after you have personally used your rune to summon an enemy in the Court of Oryx, you will get a debuff on you called Summoner's Exhaustion. Now, what that means is that for a certain amount of time, you will not be able to use another rune. So that's gonna stop people from just hogging the court with their rune and they're getting all the good loot, because when it comes to loot distribution, the person who actually uses their rune to summon something, they're going to get more loot than people who are just there helping out. So it definitely makes everyone a very, very happier bunny / guardian if you're able to use your own runes. And that's what Summoner Exhaustion is. It's just making sure it's all fair, so everyone gets to use their rune and everyone gets to get the good loot by just switching players to put their runes in the Court of Oryx. So now let's go over some of these bosses that you're going to be fighting in the Court of Oryx and what you need to do to kill them. Now, just for anyone that's wondering, I'm not spoiling this for you. I mean, if you want to figure it out yourself, then don't watch this video, but I'm not spoiling it for you. It actually gives you text in the bottom left-hand corner that gives you a hint as to what you can do in order to actually take down the boss. So it's not spoilers. Really, it's not. I mean, if you don't want to know anything, then just stop watching all the videos. But yeah, anyway, the first boss that we are looking at is called Brachus Oryx, and the way that you have to kill him is you have to kill his minions in order to actually be able to do damage to him himself. So you take out all of his minions, and then you can do damage to him. If you don't, he will have an immune shield on him, and you will not be able to do damage to him. And at the end, you can see you get to open this chest, and you get loot from it, and it's going to give you blues, and it's going to give you greens, and it's probably going to give you legendaries too, maybe exotics on tier 3, who knows. But by the way, blues are going to be better than the current armor that you have, so be excited to get blues again. Yay! Now, the next boss, or should I say bosses that we have here, are Alzok Dal, Gornuk Dal, and Zyrok Dal. These are 3 wizards that you have to take down in order to get your loots. Now, the mechanic with these 3 wizards is that if you kill one and then you fail to kill the other 2 within a certain time frame, you will actually have to start all over again because the wizards are going to come back and they're going to be at full health with their shields, and you have to start from the beginning. So the trick that you want to do with this one is you want to whittle their health down at about the same rate and then take them all out at around the same time, and then you can get access to your awesome loots. Now moving on to the next boss, which is called Krugor, and he is an ogre. I call them ogres. I don't know why, but I do. I know it's pronounced ogre, and it's easier to say ogre, but I call them ogres. But basically the mechanic behind this guy is that you have to use the thrall to your advantage. That's the little tip that you get in game. Now they're talking about the cursed thrall. So what you want to do is get him to either go near cursed thrall or get cursed thrall to chase you to him, blow up the cursed thrall all over him, and then that will take away his immunity shield and you can do damage to him. So you're gonna have to keep doing damage, getting it to explode on him, take his shield off, and then do damage to him. Otherwise he has that immunity shield and you can't do a damn thing with that immunity shield on him. Moving on to the next boss that I want to talk to you guys about. His name is called Vorlog, and he is a knight. He's a hive knight, but he's a special hive knight. The mechanic behind him is very, very simple. He just has different types of elemental shields that change. So he goes from a solar shield to an arc shield to a void shield. And of course, if you want to take him down as fast as possible, you want to be switching between weapons that have void, solar, and arc damage. But he's pretty simple. It doesn't require really doing anything too extensive. You just have to make sure that you're taking down his shields, but he's a pretty simple guy to deal with. The next boss that we're going to be talking about is called Lokar, and Lokar is a wizard, and I think Lokar is probably my least favorite out of all of the bosses that we've seen in Court of Oryx because the mechanic is just really, really simple. It says that wizards tire while teleporting, so I think that you can do more damage to them while they're in the middle of teleporting. But they just teleport, basically. That's it. So Lokar, probably the least exciting out of all of the bosses in the Court of Oryx. Now moving from my least favorite to my most favorite, we have Kraadug and Mengor. Kraadug and Mengor. Okay, there we go. Got it. This is probably my favorite one out of all of them because the way that you have to deal with these is that the only way that you can get rid of their immunity shield and actually do damage to them is by having them stand close to each other. So you want to make sure that you're kiting them around the court and you're actually making them chase you to be close together. Otherwise, you will just not be able to do damage to them. Night Stalkers are super, super good for this because you guys can kite them to where they're standing next to each other and then tether them together and take them out extremely quickly. But I just really like these guys. I just like having to be like, come on, come over here, come to your brother. I don't know. I don't know why. I just really like them. So this one was definitely my favorite mechanic that I've seen. You can see in the gameplay right here, they tried to tether them together, but it actually can be pretty difficult to keep these guys together. It can't, which is understandable. I wouldn't want to stand next to someone either. If I could be immune from death and all destruction, if I was away from them, I would never be near that person. So I totally get it. Now, that is all of the tier 1 bosses, at least all the ones that we've seen or being shown so far. So I'm assuming that's all of them. Now I'm going to explain to you guys what tier 2 is like in the Court of Oryx. So basically what tier 2 is going to do is not just going to give you the same enemies and buff them. You're not just going to face Kraadug and Mengor and they're going to do more damage. They're going to have higher damage. Of course, you're going to have to be a higher light level to actually deal with them. But in tier 2, it spawns 2 random tier 1 enemies that are buffed up, do more damage, and you have to take out both of them at the same time. So you can get really lucky and have just like the teleporting wizard and the knight, and that's pretty easy to deal with. They do a lot of damage and it can be a little difficult, but for the most part it's 2 fairly easy mechanics that you are dealing with. Or you can have a crazy time and have the ogre going on with like 3 wizards, and that is a lot. That's just a lot to deal with because you have to deal with the dropship too, so that's just a lot of damage coming your way. So the one that you're going to be watching right now is the one that I just talked about, where you have to get the 2 enemies to stand next to each other, and also the ogre. So in my opinion, this is one of the harder ones, I would say. Keep in mind that all the people that you are watching are a pretty good light level, but they are they are struggling, and they have 6 people that are doing this activity, and you can only have a fire team of 3 people. So if there's no other people in that Court of Oryx bubble with you, you're going to be having to do this as a 3-player fire team. And as you can see, a lot of struggles were being had. So the best way to deal with these is, in my opinion, when you're fighting a particular group of enemies with the knights that have to be next to each other and then the ogre, the best thing to do is to just focus on killing the ogre first, because with the knights, it's kind of difficult to keep an eye on them and get them to chase you and stand next to each other. That's a lot of stuff to do. Whereas with the ogre, you just have to get the thralls to explode on the ogre to do damage to him. So it's definitely better to just focus on one, the one that has the easier mechanic to pull off in the current situation that you're in, and then deal with the other one. So tier 2 definitely gets a little insane. It gets a lot more difficult. There's more enemies hanging around, plus they do more damage and you do less damage to them, depending on your level, of course. So it gets pretty crazy. And of course you do get better rewards from the tier 2. You get better chances of ghost shells and artifacts and armor and weapons, and that armor, weapons, artifacts, ghost shells, class items are going to be slightly better than the ones that you're getting from tier 1. I am super excited to find out about tier 3, because we don't know anything about tier 3 right now. Is it gonna be 3 of these dudes, or is it something gonna be totally different? Is it gonna be like a mega awesome crazy boss? We don't know. I'm really interested to find out, because although I don't play PvE a lot out of just purely enjoying PvE, when it comes to the Taken King, the story is really interesting. The mechanics of just a simple thing like this, I mean, it's not simple, it's pretty extravagant, but this is just a public event type deal, and it's just awesome. It makes me want to play the PvE, because I have done that in like Guild Wars and in Aeon. I played a lot of PvE. So I'm really excited to have PvE content that I thoroughly enjoy and I get a kick out of playing. And Court of Oryx is definitely shaping up to be an awesome place to go with your friends, see how many tiers you can do, get some awesome loot, and go home to the Cryptarch hoping for some awesome stuff. So that is it for the Court of Oryx, guys. If you have any questions whatsoever about anything, please do leave it in the comment section. I go through the comments and I will answer any of them that I am allowed to answer without Bungie destroying my soul. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching. Remember to stay positive, and I will speak to you awesome, amazing people later. Bye.